Happy Sunday. I'm Matthew Fox, and this is the Now Showing podcast where I take you on a deep dive to review all the movies I've seen this week. The biggest theatrical release of the week was Don't Worry, Darlin'. This one comes from director Olivia Wilde, and the troubled production, including the circumstances that led Wilde to replace Shia LaBeouf with Harry Styles, have made the news cycles for a while. It led many to wonder if the film would be any good. We got our answer as the film was released this weekend. Wilde presents a nice cinematic style. I love the 1950s outfits and sets. If only the story and the rest of the production had lived up to the look crafted by the film. Despite a strong performance from Florence Pugh in the lead and Chris Pine in a supporting role, the story plays out unevenly and too slow. The third act reveal is somewhat fascinating, but not enough to save this from being a bit of a misfire. Don't Worry, Darlin' is now playing in theaters. I gave it 2 stars out of 5. Next up is the Netflix original film, A Jazzman's Blues. This one comes from director Tyler Perry, but it's not what you might think. Perry made his name with some broad comedies or some modern romances, but this is a period piece that takes a serious look at racial issues and more that have long plagued the country. Perry first wrote this screenplay 27 years ago, and you can tell it's a labor of love and a story he deeply wanted to tell. Some of it is very compelling, and it's a fascinating departure from the kind of films you usually expect to see when you see directed by Tyler Perry. I like Joshua Boone in the lead role. I like some of the musical numbers and the style as well. Ultimately, you know where this one is heading. It has some strong moments, but it takes a while to get there. A Jazzman's Blues is now streaming on Netflix, and I gave it 2.5 stars out of 5. Next film is another Netflix film. This one, the film Lou. It stars Allison Janney as a bit of a loner who is drawn into a kidnapping plot involving her tenant as they live on a remote island while a storm rages. Turns out there's more to Lou than first appears. There's also more to her connection to the kidnapping than first appears. Who would have thought? Janney is a solid lead actress. She does a decent job in this role. I also enjoyed her back and forth with Jurnee Smollett, who plays the child's mother. Logan Marshall Green is fairly solid as the primary antagonist as well. It all plays out fine, but the twists were not altogether that unexpected. It's a sturdy action tale that's unspectacular but decently watchable. As I mentioned, this one is streaming on Netflix. I gave it 2.5 stars out of 5. Next up on the countdown is the romantic comedy Meet Cute. This one's streaming on Peacock, and it features a interesting setup. A man and a woman meet in a bar. They hit it off. Their night's going well until suddenly the girl has a confession. She's used a magical tanning bed to travel back in time. Only one day back in time, mind you. In fact, she's done this a number of times to this very day and time to connect with this man. That's the premise of Meet Cute, a romantic comedy that finds Kaylee Cuoco and Pete Davidson trapped in a Groundhog Day style time loop. I like Cuoco, but I think she deserved a better script. Davidson's shtick is a little bit different here than other films, but it was no more endearing for me. The plot seemed to drag despite an 89-minute runtime. We've seen this time travel thing a lot. It's been done better. This one fell flat for me. I think it's a film that can be safely skipped. It is streaming on Peacock. I gave it 1 star out of 5. As you can tell, not my favorite of the week. Next up is the documentary Sidney, which focuses on actor Sidney Poitier. It was produced by Oprah Winfrey, among others. He was an incredible actor who passed away in January, and this documentary, released on Apple TV Plus, looks at his life, career, and legacy. The film features clips of his other famous films, along with interviews with his family, colleagues, and other actors. It was a fascinating look into the life and career and a great celebration of this landmark performer. It's worth checking out just to learn more about Poitier's career and the impact of his life. As I mentioned, this film is streaming on Apple TV Plus. I thought it was a decent documentary. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. And finally, I'm going to wrap up today, as I've been doing every week, with my new to streaming highlight film. And this week I picked Vengeance. Vengeance released in theaters in July, and it was one of my favorite films of the year. It comes from writer director BJ Novak, who takes the lead in front of and behind the camera as an aspiring podcaster and confirmed bachelor who moves from one casual relationship to another. When one of those casual hookups dies in Texas, he's mistaken for her boyfriend. The family requests he travel for his service. Once there, he finds that not all surrounding her death is what it seems, and he sees an opportunity in pursuing her story. This is an amusing comedy that pulls you in, and it's the comedic aspect that is probably the first hook, but it's also one of the more engaging and thought provoking pieces I've seen. Novak is fantastic, but it's the supporting turn from Ashton Kutcher, who makes his mark in just two scenes, that steals the show. This one has been available to rent or purchase for a while, but it is now available to stream on Peacock. I hope that you will have a chance to check it out. It's still in my top 5 films for the year. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. So that is a wrap on the films I'm looking at this week. I hope that you enjoy your time and you find a movie to watch. Until then, I'll be at the movies.